All right, so when I got an email that Bob was having an event in his house, I didn't realize there's world-class talent here.
Should have mentioned that, sorry.
I didn't either.
My name is Sri. I'm one of the hospitalists, do a lot of global health work, and it's just awesome to be with so many amazing, talented folks. So this is a short story from that came from my residency experience. So in residency, I trained at a county hospital in Los Angeles. Black and brown patients lay on gurneys in the emergency room and lined the halls of the medical wards. Our patients were mostly poor and undocumented. The doctors were mostly white. One of my Guatemalan patients told me on that long walk into the United States with blisters and diarrhea, our hospital was known as one of the first places to receive free and decent care. As residents, we lived and worked in the hospital so many nights. It felt like home. On one of my days off, in jeans and a t-shirt, I went into the hospital to finish dictating some patient's notes. It was morning. There was a metal detector coming into the hospital. I collected my stale coffee from the cafeteria. Later that same morning, I got stopped by a police guard coming out of the bathroom, suspicious that I might have been shooting up in one of the bathroom stalls. I presented my ID from my jean pocket, and immediately apologies flowed like water from an open faucet from the mouth of the police guard. My dark skin is so much like my patient's. I learned never to walk the hospital without my doctor's ID. Until then, the hospital had felt like home. But it was not a home where I could move freely without question. It was not my home. A few months later, after a long call shift, I decided to drive to the ocean. Making my way to the water feels like making my way home. This is a habit of mine. The air next to the water is fresh and clean and welcoming and opens the lungs after 30 continuous hours in the hospital. The neighboring cities of Redondo Beach and Hermosa Beach are beautiful, with strips of bars and flocks of white folks that flood them in the evening hours. It's 11 p.m. on a Thursday, and the beachfront parking is full. I want to bypass the crowds and the bars and go sit on the beach and clear my head. As I circle for parking in my sister's beat-up black Jetta, I can see a cop car eye me as I come around the block. Again, not finding parking. My black beat-up car and my nearly black skin in this dark night. The third time around the block, the cop starts to follow me, a slow dance around a 3-block radius. He pulls me over. The cop is rude. He flashes his light into my back seat and eyes my ophthalmoscope and reflex hammer. He flashes the light in my eyes and asks what the paraphernalia in the back seat is all about. He doesn't give me a chance to answer. He asks for my driver's license and registration and proof of insurance, his voice finding its footing somewhere between irritated and angry. I'm nervous. I lived in New York on 9/11, and immediately after, I saw fear in older white women's eyes as they looked at me. It is a look I recognize in my dying patients, the fear. But it always catches me off guard when I look in someone's eyes and I realize I am the thing they fear. Back in the Jetta, my white coat hangs off my driver's seat. My doctor's ID hangs off my white coat close to the driver's side window. The policeman's flashlight catches the ID and he asks if I'm a doctor. I say yes. At the LA County, a few miles away, The pile of papers in his hand, the driver's license, the registration, the proof of insurance, become like a lotus flower as he opens his palms and they flow back to me. He apologizes and he apologizes. He says, I didn't realize that you were a doctor. I didn't realize that you worked at the trauma center where cops go when they are shot or hurt. My doctor's ID becomes a get out of jail free card, an I exist card. I exist, something to distinguish me from the black, brown, the sick, the poor, the nameless, the undocumented, my patients. What if I had been a plumber looking for the sea after a hard day's work? What if I had been one of my patients, black and brown and nameless? I remember taking care of an undocumented Mexican man who worked and worked for 4 decades in the vineyards of Napa. He never had health insurance. I saw him in the hospital when his bone marrow had finally failed, exhausted by decades of field work. His body was announcing its existence the only way it could. If the soul is ignored for long enough, the body rebels. A mass in the throat rises to the surface of the skin. A cavity in the lung, riddled with tuberculosis, starts to bleed. The body announces its existence. Sometimes when I fill out a death certificate, I wish I could write the cause of death as poverty or American racism. As a doctor, I'm looking to make common cause with the Navajo woman, the uranium mined from the earth and left bare for Navajo folks to fall ill. The uranium in the earth rises as a lump in a Navajo woman's breast. As a doctor, I'm looking to make common cause with the black boys who are searched and stopped by police without a doctor's ID to protect them. My patients where we work in Liberia, I'm looking to make common cause with the 11,310 black bodies who died from Ebola. They came into our awareness only in sickness and in death. Before blood flows from every orifice, can we note their existence? The 109 black bodies killed by police this year, may we learn their names in life. They exist. As a doctor, I aim to stand with them before the beautiful fire of their lives become ash. In this country, the only way I know home is through them. I aim to reclaim the space for home for the black, the brown, the sick, the poor, the nameless, the undocumented, my patients, myself. I try to find my home through them.